ஆமா. We will start today with the pilot study and pre-testing of the questionnaire or any other data collection tool in one. I'll share my screen. You see my screen there? Yeah, before we proceed, what exactly is a pilot study? See, I may not have adequate knowledge about the population, right? So when I don't have an adequate knowledge about the population, I may not understand how much it is going to cost me, how long it is going to cost me. And when I prepare a questionnaire, I may not be able to judge if it is answerable to me. The question may look as if it is all clear, crystal clear. And to somebody else, it may look ambiguous in the sense they may take it in any sense they want. So to understand if my data collection technique is going to work properly, if my research is going to be completed on time, if I will get all the answers, all the questions answered on my questionnaire or interview schedule, I need to conduct a pilot study. This test study, pre-test study is actually called as pilot study. It will help me know if the research will materialize in the way I want. And I may have an idea if people are willing to fill, if people will be able to fill, and it may cost me, how much it will cost me, what kind of responses I am getting, etc. So what I will do is when I say to pilot study, I am going to say if my sample is 500, I will first test it on 50 samples. Like 500 में से 50 लोगों को I will administer the questionnaire and I'll see how long it takes for me to receive the responses, what kind of responses I receive. And I will see if my questions are all answered, whatever I want to ask them, are they all answered in the way I want? And is there any ambiguity in any question? Is there a question that needs to be reworded? Is there a question that needs to be added or deleted? All these things I can find out when I do a pilot study. So, and this should be, what are the functions of pilot study? This should be able to give me fair idea of if my research will be finished on time and if it is going to be within the cost I estimate, or how much cost I can estimate. This also I can find out with the help of my pilot study. What are the functions of a pilot study is it provides me a better knowledge about the problem. I may anticipate something, but something else may crop up, right, as a problem. I may feel women are not enrolling because their parents are not allowing them to for higher education. But then, if it is something else that is there in their mind, that also comes out in my questionnaire. I hope I am clear here. Supposing I find that in a particular area, women enrollment in higher education like colleges, etc., is very, very less. So I want to find out what it is. I feel that parents are not educated, so they are not serious about education, and hence I want to conduct a research. I try researching, but then I find that it is not parents, it is the women themselves, they don't want to go because they feel on the way it is not safe for them to commute to colleges. On the way it is very dangerous. Sometimes during extra classes they are not able to go because the areas where they reside is not safe. So they don't want to step out of the house, right? Or I feel that parents are not willing to send, not because they are illiterate, but because they feel safety is a priority. Their concern is safety. Are you following? So something else, it gives me a better knowledge about the problem. Women are not enrolling for a specific reason. But what else could be the reason? I got a better knowledge. It will help me identify and operationalize any concepts relating to the study. Safety was found out, right? I thought parents were not educated, so they were not serious. But I found out that safety in terms of what? Safety in terms of eve teasing and things like that. And then it also helps me in assisting any variables, relationship between any variables, and helps me in hypothesis formulation. Like I said, parents don't allow because they lack education was the reason according to me. But then women enrollment and their parents being educated, I was trying to relay. But then here it showed me safety is also a variable I need to relay when it comes to women education or women enrollment in higher education. The more parents are educated, the more is their enrollment, right? I'm able to identify and formulate a hypothesis. Again, this shows me the nature of population to be surveyed and also variability within. See, when I am surveying a population, I'm going to be surveying them. The village consists of people who are educated, people who are not. And when I'm going to survey them, and what is the variability in them? Is it because of a particular caste? Is it their income? All these subvariants also will be studied along with the proper study, which I can include in my questionnaire. Is it because of the income? Is it because of a particular caste that they don't want to send them? All these things can be studied. So, and it shows me if my questionnaire or interview schedule or my observation method is full enough or adequate. Is it covering all the aspects that I want to study? If I'm missing out one or two things here, then I may be able to, for the final study, I may be able to include that particular aspect also, which I had missed out. Like when I told you, I had a perception that parents were not educated and hence they were not serious about their children getting educated. But then my questionnaire had questions related to all their education level. But then there were respondents who had not filled that in or who had filled in some other aspect of it which came to light. So it shows me, is that adequate enough? Is it, considering all the variability in case of socioeconomic status, in case of religious minority, whatever needs to be included, is it all included in the tool of data collection? It also helps me in providing a structure for my questions with alternative answers. Like I told you, I had included only answers pertaining to parents' education. I did not think about the safety. So I can include questions about how safe is it? How far is your college, is the nearest college located? So all these things can be included if I come to know. And then again, for the researcher to develop an appropriate plan of analysis. So I can now think of another angle, and I feel that the study was to be completed by me in 6 months. But then if I find that pilot study itself took me 2 months, I will extend the time. If I need more resources in terms of money and time, I'm going to include that also and accordingly plan, right? And I'll also find out what kind of tools there are different data analysis tools. What kind of tools can be used? We will study about data analysis tools also when we come to that. And it provides me information for estimating the probable cost, duration, as I mentioned earlier, and the main study and various stages of studies, right? Now this is again pre-test. Again, it's a trial test for a specific aspect of the study, such as data collection instrument or interview schedule made to them. Earlier, I had an idea, not only this. So I may resort to a pre-test of whatever I did. It is a trial. Like for example, if there is safety involved, so I may have an observer who can stand and then watch how safe is it, how many people walk on that particular area or street where they feel it is not safe. Like for example, from my house to the nearest college, I feel it's not safe. And I respond in that way to the questionnaire. me and my neighbors respond. We say that we are not sending our daughters to the college because from this street to the college, it is not safe after 4 o'clock in the evening, and colleges get over at 6 o'clock. So maybe as a researcher, I can observe this area, how many people go, how many buses are available to commute, etc. Right? So it will help me in understanding. So I'm going to test. Now, along with that, I'm also going to test how how adequate is the instrument, in the sense, will all the questions pertaining to a particular aspect are asked or not, right? Have I asked everything related to their income, to their quality of life, etc., right? So that I can understand what I will get as response, and will my research objective be fulfilled. And is the content of the instrument relevant? Like, for example, if there are no public transport, then I cannot say, do you commute by auto or bus? Public transport, hey, nahi. People will have to either walk down or will have to have private transport. But if I ask them, do you commute by public bus? It makes no sense. There are no railway network there. Then when I ask them, do you commute by train? It makes no sense, right? So whether I'm asking relevant questions or not, and whether the content of the instrument is relevant and adequate, and along with that, if wording of each question, as I told you, according to me, it looks crystal clear. I feel people can answer this, but I find that respondents have not responded to this question at all. So I will see if it is suitable, and if for the particular class I am talking about, or for the particular sample that I have selected, for particular population that I have selected to be surveyed, and is it understandable by them? Are they able to understand? Instead of me feeling that they will understand, let them understand and answer. This is what I try to tell you. So pre-testing is you are testing the tool, whereas pilot study is you are conducting a mock research for the full-fledged research, to understand the resource requirement, to understand the tool required to conduct the study, and to understand how adequate is that tool. Is it enough if I just have an interview schedule? Should I have an observation also along with that? Can this be done, or should this be done in stages, etc.? So this is what is pilot study and pre-testing means. Pilots, what is the meaning of pilot study? What are the functions of pilot study? What is the meaning of pre-testing? And what are the purposes of pre-testing? So if you want, I'll just unnote here. We'll go to data processing soon after this. Now, just to understand, see, pilot studies, for the entire study, for the entire research, you are conducting a mock to identify the tools of analysis actually required, the amount of resources in terms of time, money, etc., and how best you can conduct the research. Will it be suitable for your objective, etc.? Or is that the only reason for a particular thing happening, for establishing cause and effect relationship between two or more variables, etc.? Whereas pre-testing is to test your data collection tool. Data collection tools were observation, when we said interview schedule, questionnaire, etc. Right? So we are going to test how adequate are these, what actually should be done. So you're going to do a mock and then find out. So shall I share my next screen? Now we were seeing about collecting the data, pre-testing the tool to collect adequate data. And now after the data is all collected, there is actually a process to be followed. We call it as data processing, right? The data processing is ideally, see, supposing I say, you will have to filter out. Filter out in the sense, just keep what is essential and remove all the junk out, right? So, like when you buy a vegetable, supposing it's you need to peel it. You will remove the peel, you'll remove the seed, and then only keep the vegetable. Same way, only what is relevant to me, I will keep and I will remove everything out. So now when I talk about data processing, it is talking about all these aspects of coding, data editing. First, I'll have to edit the data. We'll see each and everything what it is. I will talk about editing the data, coding the classifying the data, coding the data, tabulating the data, and then charting the data or making them into diagrams. So we will see each and every aspect of it. Data editor, data processing is after the data is collected, it has to go through a process so that it is suitable for my study. I need to make it suitable for my study. So what will I do? So when the data is collected, it is processed. So what happens? What is processing? I'm going to edit the data. Editing means we will see in detail. It is the first step. Basically, I'm going to check all the questionnaires and schedules. I'm going to see all the questions that are unanswered. I will remove. I'm talking about data here, not just questionnaire. If I have responses from 50 respondents or 100 respondents, if all of them have not answered a particular question, then each question is an information or a data to me. Hope you understand that. In a questionnaire, whatever questions I ask, each and every question is an information or it is a data to me. Each and every every response is an, मतलब 50 क्वेश्चनर में अगर मेरे 20 क्वेश्चंस है एक क्वेश्चनर में 50 into 20 I have 1000 information here. I hope you are following, right? So every single response of every single respondent is an information to me. I will check out if all the questions are answered, if all the questionnaires or schedules are duly filled, if there are any omissions or if there are any error in filling up. So I'm going to either correct them or I'm going to eliminate that particular question if everybody has not responded to that. Are you following? So this is called as data editing. Now, the data editing is a final, is a proper process. Why is it done actually? Well, there is an editor who does it. It could be the researcher himself or it could be somebody else also. Like if you have big companies who conduct feasibility studies, like see for example, there are companies which will help you do some research analysis, R&D companies. Like for example, I want to construct a mall somewhere, right? So that particular area will be studied. Every day we'll see traffic is the first thing that is going to be affected the moment a mall is constructed. I hope you understand this. Do you agree with me? Traffic will be affected when I construct a mall in a particular area. So I will have my researchers, right? So I need somebody to help me with the research part. Will people visit the mall? Because the more, the merrier for a mall. It is more profitable to be only when more people visit the mall, right? So I will have to see the kind of people residing there, the amount of transportation available to that particular place, and also I need to see the vicinity, the kind of aju baju ke surroundings I need to see, and I will also see how good or bad the traffic is going to be affected. When I raise a building there, what will happen? The traffic passing by is going to be affected. So how good, how well or how badly is it going to be affected? All these are going to be studied by me with the help of a researcher. So now what will happen? I will appoint a company which are specially into these. So I'll find out one of them. I'll ask them to research. So they are going to collect the data from me. They also have an editor, right? The editor is actually responsible here to see if the data is as accurate as possible, minimum possible errors, and the facts are consistent, which means like this time I say like for example, I want to see how well the traffic is affected, how much the traffic is affected. So I will just draw a chart. I will ask somebody to stand there and research, like how many vehicles from here turn left, from left से center में आती है, ये जगह पे ट्रैफिक कितना अफेक्ट होता है जब अगर वन वे बनाना हो तो, या अगर ज्यादा vehicles आने लगे तो. All these things I need to find out. Currently how many vehicles pass by that, and how many vehicles will have to take a detour, मतलब diversion लेना पड़ेगा. All these things will have to be surveyed. So I will have the data collected in 3 or 4 phases, and they have to be consistent. एक time एक reading आता है, दूसरा time दूसरा reading आता है, then it is not consistent, right? So there has to be consistency with other facts. And the data has to be uniformly entered. It has to be keyed into the computer, and every information has to be as complete as possible. जो भी information मुझे चाहिए, जितना complete है उतना ही अच्छा है मेरे research के लिए. And it has to be, I should be able to tabulate the data and also code the data. I will tell you what is data coding. Are you able to understand? The data which is collected has to be edited first. So an editor who could even be the researcher himself will do it. So when I edit the data first, it is going to be, I will see what is happening. When I edit the data, I'm going to make sure it is as accurate as possible with minimum possible errors. It has to be consistent with the facts that I have ascertained. It has to be uniformly entered, and it should be as complete as possible. I should be able to tabulate the data and arrange them into facts. Like I told you, when I say tabulation ke liye, I collect age, right? And age of the respondents. And I'm going to tabulate them saying 0 to, or say 25 to 40, 40 to 55, 55 to 80, and so on. I make them into different categories, and then I say how many frequency. I'm just finding out the frequency, how many percentage of people belong to a particular age group, etc. Are you following this? So this is what an editor is actually responsible for, as according to Mildred B. Parton. Now, what are the different types of editing? Now, there are different types of editing. I'll just remove this annotation. Now, editing is done. There are different types of editing. Editing for quality. What happens is, all the data forms should be complete. Whatever questionnaires that are filled are complete, and it should be free from bias, right? Yeah, bias in the sense any kind of influence. When I ask you a question, you should be able to answer me without somebody influencing you. Supposing I tell you, I go and survey a student. Would you like to go to a college? Why are you refraining from going to a college? If she answers on her own saying that I am scared to step out of the house after 12 o'clock in the noon, and because my area is not safe, this she says without somebody influencing her, then that is a proper response. But if it is influence, if parents say she will not answer, I will answer, or she will answer only what I tell her to answer, then that means somebody else has influenced her, right? So I have to ensure that the data is free from bias. And any kind of recordings are free from bias. In observation technique, we often use recording. Interviews, we often use recordings, right? They should be free from errors, and they should be free from bias, right? And any kind of inconsistencies in responses. Like for example, a student who wants to enroll in college, but for parents' pressure, she's not enrolling, right? Initially, she says, I'm not interested in studies. Later on, she says, I don't have money. And then the third time, when there is a question on something else, she says, I have enough money, but I don't feel safe to go out, right? There is inconsistency in the same person's response, or even if it is the different people responding in different way within the limits, that should be removed. And it should also show that enumerators or the researchers who are collecting the data should not have any kind of dishonesty. Like, I can do it the way I want. So I feel everybody wants to go to the college, and we show that they are not interested in studies. Parents are not sending them to college because they are not interested. It is my way of manipulating the data because I want a particular study to be in this way.